Nintendo's got some big plans for the rest of the year, and if you're not excited, you definitely should be, because the hype is getting real. So with March being the end of Nintendo's fiscal year, I figured it would be fitting to talk about what the future holds for the Nintendo Switch, specifically as it relates to game announcements, the next Nintendo Direct, as well as hardware announcements that we could be expecting within the next 3 or 4 months. After this month is over, all eyes are focused on Nintendo's next fiscal year, which should hopefully lead to the next Nintendo Switch console or the Nintendo Switch Pro, as well as an announcement for the release date of the next Breath of the Wild. Now that the Pokemon Direct is over, we know that Nintendo has no plans to utilize the Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl remakes as their mainline franchise for the holiday season. This has led me, and as well as many other fans, to believe that that is a prime time for Nintendo to release Breath of the Wild 2, as well as the Nintendo Switch Pro console for the holiday season 2021. As you guys remember, at the last Nintendo Direct, Eiji Aonuma confirmed that we would be getting more information about Breath of the Wild 2 later this year, and that's primarily what we're going to be talking about in this video. So now that the 500-day drought is over for Nintendo Switch Directs, we can expect to get more news within the next 4 months in the form of a Nintendo Direct at what I would imagine is going to be the digital E3 press conference that we're going to get sometime in June. It was recently confirmed due to city plans that E3 2021, the convention center, was not booked for this year. Obviously, due to the global situation, it makes sense for them not to do any live shows. So E3 this year, instead of being completely absent like they were last year, will show up in some sort of capacity in a digital only setting. And to be honest, ever since they announced the Nintendo Switch, they've always crushed it with E3s. So I think this year is going to be another one of those situations, especially if they have 2 major announcements to showcase. Now, I do realize a lot of people are still very skeptical about the Nintendo Switch Pro, but I think after seeing multiple games be announced and revealed that showed off graphics that were kind of subpar and just really reconfirms the need for a next Nintendo Switch console. For instance, the recently announced Pokemon Legends Arceus. Don't get me wrong, the game in its current state looks gorgeous, but imagine what it would look like with a Nintendo Switch Pro behind it. It honestly almost feels like Game Freak downgraded the game for this showcase with the goal of showing off its true capabilities and visuals for the Nintendo Switch Pro console. I truly believe the Nintendo Switch Pro console is all but confirmed, and I think the best time to do it would be the E3 Direct of 2021. As you guys know, the last E3 Direct, at the very end, the one more thing was the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel. I couldn't tell you a better way to start off E3 2021 straight up with Breath of the Wild sequel, and then at the very end, for Nintendo's classic one more thing, be the Nintendo Switch Pro console. Now, this could be a bold prediction, but in my opinion, it's very apparent that Nintendo has every intentions of bundling the 2 launches together again to try to repeat the success of the year 1 Nintendo Switch. Whenever the Nintendo Switch first released, we got Breath of the Wild, we got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, as well as Splatoon 2. Now, currently, if Nintendo wants to try to repeat the year 1 again, we've already got 2 of those announcements already out of the way. Splatoon 3 was announced at the last Nintendo Direct, the sequel to Breath of the Wild at 2019's E3 Direct, and all that's left is the Nintendo Switch Pro console announcement. Now, sure, this is kind of an unconventional way of announcing a new console, and it's kind of a stretch that it would be announced at E3, so it very well could be a separate announcement that they do. They could drop a trailer randomly and just announce the next Nintendo Switch console, and then at E3 for their big showstopper, they give us the next addition to the Mario Kart franchise. Hopefully, it would be Mario Kart 9, but as I've stated in many videos, this might not make the most sense for them to do because of the amazing sales that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is currently getting. It's like the top selling game on the Nintendo Switch, so don't try to fix something that's not broken. Even though that happens to be Nintendo's favorite thing to do, is constantly fix things that are not broken. And then on the other hand, if something's completely broken, then they just kind of forget about it. But either way, every single new Nintendo console has either launched with a new Zelda game or a Mario game. So unless they plan on announcing the next 3D Mario game or Mario Kart 9, then I think it's safe to say the game that releases alongside the next Nintendo Switch console will be, in fact, Breath of the Wild 2. Now, there is a slight possibility that we don't get the Switch Pro this year and they push it back to 2022. That way we can have another Legend of Zelda game and Splatoon 3 launched in the same year. But then that still leaves us with the big question. What is Nintendo's next mainline launch title for the holiday season 2021? There is no way Nintendo doesn't bring out all of the stops this year for Nintendo Switch, so that leaves us with 2 potential games that that could be the mainline franchise for holiday 2021 if it's not Breath of the Wild or any other game, those being the next Metroid game or Bayonetta 3. Now, there has been some theories and speculation that Nintendo's not going to go all out for holiday 2021, and instead they're just going to release some good games as well as the next Nintendo Switch console. So rather than launching Breath of the Wild 2 with the Nintendo Switch Pro, instead they would use the Switch Pro or the next Nintendo Switch console to drive their sales for the holiday season of 2021, and then release Breath of the Wild 2 in March, the same time that they released the original game. This would leave people plenty of time to pick up a Nintendo Switch Pro console so that they could have the console at launch of the Breath of the Wild sequel. With 2021 being absolutely riddled with scalpers, I want as much time as possible to pick up a Switch Pro console, so whenever Breath of the Wild 2 does come out, I could play it on the absolute best experience possible. But that's obviously only if the next Nintendo Switch console will be an upgraded system in terms of spec and performance. With the rumored Nintendo Switch Pro or the Super Nintendo Switch utilizing a Tegra chip that obviously utilizes deep learning super sampling to take a lower pixel count resolution and then boost up the resolution through artificial intelligence to make the image the best possible quality with performance that is absolutely nutty. I want to be able to utilize that technology for Breath of the Wild 2 on the next Nintendo Switch console if it is indeed the Switch Pro. Either way, guys, with Nintendo's fiscal year coming to a close at the end of March, we should be expecting some pretty massive news. That's gonna wrap it up with this video, guys. Do me a favor, go follow me on Twitch. The link is in the description. I'll be live there talking about Nintendo Switch news and a bunch of other stuff. Thank you guys all once again for watching. This has been Wes, and I will talk to you on the next video.